Revelation 9. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace.
All right, so this fifth angel sounds his trumpet, and it says a star falls from the sky to the earth. And then this star is a person, maybe an angel, who has a key to the abyss. And he unlocks the abyss when smoke rises out of it. So I think this is an angel that comes down to open up a chamber of some sort.
The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss.
All right, so this is an indication, and as in some of the previous trumpets, I believe, that when it says the sun and moon was darkened, it doesn't say how it was darkened, but here we specifically see that the sun and moon was darkened by smoke that comes up out of the abyss.
And out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads.
Now, I just went back and double-checked in chapter 7, where we have the sealing of the 144,000 Jews, those specifically from the 12 tribes. And, immediately after that, it talks about the innumerable multitudes of other Christians that served God, but only the Jews were sealed. So, here we have the locusts being commanded to hurt people, but not those 144,000 Jews that had the seal of God on their foreheads. So God was protecting 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. And it seems like everybody else would be fair game, but I wonder if that would include, Christians, faithful Christians as well. I would assume not, but the text doesn't give me a reason to assume that.
They were not allowed to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months.
So it seems the sting of this scorpion tail would cause great anguish for 5 months, but not kill.
And the agony they suffered was like that of the sting of a scorpion when it strikes. During those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. The locusts look like horses prepared for battle. On their heads they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces resembled human faces. Their hair was like woman's hair, and their teeth were like lion's teeth.
Now, I don't know if these locusts represent the Romans, the Roman warriors. It seems like a possibility that the Roman warriors would have faces like people and maybe wearing helmets of gold. And they would be the ones going around causing all this destruction in the first century that certainly this book, I believe, is talking about. So I believe these locusts very well could be Roman soldiers riding on horses and chariots.
They had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the thundering of many horses and chariots rushing into battle.
There again, it sounds like the Roman warriors to me.
They had tails with stingers like scorpions, and in their tails they had power to torment people for 5 months. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon, that is, destroyer.
So, if the locusts are the Roman soldiers, then the king would be Caesar. And most likely, I believe this would be a reference to Caesar Nero in particular. Nero ruled, I forget when he started, but his rule ended around 68 AD, which I believe would be the time that the book of Revelation would be written, during the reign of Caesar Nero.
The first woes passed. 2 other woes are yet to come. The 6th angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming from the 4 horns of the golden altar that is before God. It said to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind.
Now, I don't know who that would be. Now, I think it's interesting that these 4 angels at the river Euphrates had been kept specifically for a purpose at a specific time. The exact hour, day, and month was predetermined, and the time had come. So whatever woe or famine or plague that this one unleashes was a predetermined, preset woe or plague.
The number of the mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number.
So I think that equals 200 million. The twice 10,000 times 10,000 is 200 million. So the warriors are 200 million. I think that's... I don't know what the population was in the 1st century, but that is a huge number.
The horses and riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. The heads of the horses resembled the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and sulfur. 1/3 of mankind was killed by the 3 plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur that came out of their mouths. The power of the horses was in their mouths and in their tails, for their tails were like snakes, having heads with which they inflict injury. The rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues still did not repent of the work of their hands. They did not stop worshipping demons and idols of gold, silver, bronze, stone, and wood, idols that cannot see or hear or walk. Nor did they repent of their murders, their magic arts, their sexual immorality, or their thefts.
So, we know that the people that are being killed are ungodly people. Some of those would probably also be Jews. At least some of those would be Jews. It's possible that almost all of them are Jews, and the only Jews that escaped were those who had the seal of God on their foreheads, the 144,000. But these people who are being killed by these horsemen from the 6th trumpet are ungodly people, idolaters, and if this is in reference to the Roman destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, then these horsemen and chariots would be the Romans themselves. And who were they killing? They were killing the Jews. There was a great Roman-Jewish war around 70 AD. I think it was like a 7-year war from like 67 to 73, when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. And this just insurmountable force of 200 million chariots or horsemen coming against the Jews, because Caesar Nero blamed the Jews for the fire that burned Rome. And there was also a great Jewish rebellion, and the Romans had to snuff it out. So God used the Romans to destroy the Jewish kingdom, which was all prophesied back in Daniel. So I believe, here again, this war, this plague, the sixth trumpet unleashes the Roman chariots to destroy the Jews and Jerusalem. This is what it's talking about, in my opinion. And he's calling the Jews idolaters. They worship demons and idols of gold, silver, bronze, and stone. And they would not repent of their murders. So who did the Jews murder? Well, they murdered Jesus, among many others. But they didn't repent. They didn't change. They held to their way of thinking, which was wrong, and they didn't change.